Imagine a machine that carries decades of stories within its frame, part mechanical tool, part cultural artifact, part personal canvas. At first glance, it might seem like nothing more than metal, rubber, and fuel. Yet to those who know, it represents freedom, rebellion, and identity forged on the open road. Generations of riders have stripped it down, rebuilt it, raced it, or simply ridden it until the paint wore thin and the engine sang louder than words ever could. It was never meant to remain static. It was designed to evolve in the hands of people who refuse to settle for ordinary. What started as a modest entry has, over time, become a mirror of its rider's creativity and a symbol of how one model can transcend engineering to become culture itself. In this story, we'll dive deep into the roots, the rise, and the legacy of one of the most iconic motorcycles in American history, showing how it went from factory floors to garage-built legend. If you enjoy this ride, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment what model you want us to explore next. The Harley Sportster, first introduced in 1957, arrived at a pivotal moment in American motorcycling. Harley-Davidson had built its reputation on big twin cruisers that commanded the highways. But the post-war market was shifting. Riders wanted something lighter, faster, and more affordable. Something that could take on the influx of smaller yet nimble imports from Europe and soon Japan. The Sportster answered that call with a stripped-down approach, a lean frame, a compact V-twin engine, and an attitude that felt raw compared to the company's heavyweight offerings. Its earliest versions, like the XL, carried a sense of urgency in their design, more about giving riders a base to make their own than dictating what a motorcycle should look like. In the late 50s and early 60s, America was experiencing the growth of hot rod culture, garage tinkering, and a broader obsession with personal freedom, qualities that made the Sportster not just timely, but emblematic of a new kind of ownership. This was a motorcycle you could modify, beat on, strip down, or dress up depending on taste. In a world where Harley's big bike symbolized tradition, the Sportster symbolized possibility, and that meant trade-offs. The lighter frame sacrificed some long-haul comfort, the compact power plant meant less brute force than the big twins, and its reputation as the entry Harley sometimes put it at odds with purists. Yet those compromises made it approachable for younger riders who wanted something affordable and distinctly theirs. Early owners discovered how easily the Sportster could be chopped, raked, or lowered, and soon it was appearing at local races, street hangouts, and custom shows alike. This was no accident. Harley had designed a bike with just enough blank space to let riders fill in the rest. Over time, that flexibility would prove more valuable than even Harley imagined. The Sportster became the canvas on which countless subcultures painted their identity. But to understand why that flexibility mattered, we have to look at the years that followed. When the bike evolved alongside a changing America, and when riders began pushing its limits in ways no factory engineer could have anticipated. The Harley Sportster in the 1970s and 1980s entered a new era, one defined by shifting tastes, an expanding aftermarket, and a flood of competition that threatened to squeeze Harley-Davidson out of its own segment. By this point, the Sportster was no longer just an entry-level motorcycle, it was a cultural platform. Riders had already begun turning it into choppers with sky-high front forks, drag racers with stripped-down weight and explosive launches, and cafe-inspired builds that borrowed styling cues from across the Atlantic. The adaptability of the Sportster was its greatest asset, but it also exposed the tension within Harley itself. Should this model be tightly curated as a factory product or left wide open as a do-it-yourself canvas? At the same time, Japanese manufacturers were delivering fast, reliable, and increasingly affordable middleweights, forcing the Sportster to prove its worth not through polish, but through personality. Owners and builders responded with fierce creativity. Aftermarket companies sprang up offering bolt-on kits, performance parts, and styling conversions that could turn a showroom Sportster into anything from a showpiece to a stripped racer in a matter of weekends. Enthusiast magazines regularly featured Sportster customs, and regional clubs treated them as badges of identity, each machine declaring something about its rider's philosophy. Unlike Harley's heavyweight cruisers, the Sportster existed in a constant state of flux, always caught between tradition and reinvention. Some argued it was no longer a true Harley once it left its stock form. Others countered that customization was the very heart of Harley culture and that the Sportster embodied it best. What kept it alive wasn't sheer performance numbers. Plenty of rivals outran it on paper, but the way it invited owners to shape their bikes into rolling reflections of themselves. By the late 80s and into the 90s, that identity had cemented itself. The Sportster wasn't just Harley's smallest model, it was Harley's most personal. And that set the stage for its enduring legacy, because the story of the Sportster was no longer just about engineering or sales, it was about how an entire culture rallied around the freedom to build and express. The 1975 Chrysler Cordoba carries a legacy that goes far beyond its sales figures because it crystallized an entire moment in American automotive culture. At its debut, the Cordoba gave Chrysler a much-needed infusion of relevance, but over time it became a symbol of how the industry shifted from brute force horsepower to carefully crafted image and comfort. In the decades since, enthusiasts have looked back on the Cordoba with mixed feelings. Some dismiss it as the end of the performance era, while others see it as a clever adaptation that kept Chrysler alive during a period of crisis. What makes the 1975 Chrysler Cordoba enduringly interesting is how it balanced aspiration with reality. It offered upscale looks and touches of luxury without drifting into the stratosphere of price or pretension, giving everyday buyers the chance to feel like they owned a statement piece. That democratization of style was its true gift, and one reason it sold so well. Today, the Cordoba remains a fascinating study for collectors and historians alike. On one hand, it lacks the brute desirability of muscle cars from just a few years earlier, but on the other hand, it captures the zeitgeist of its era in a way few cars can. Owning one now means more than just driving an old Chrysler. It means piloting a time capsule, complete with plush seating, dramatic styling cues, and the unmistakable aura of mid-1970s optimism wrapped in chrome and vinyl. The 1975 Chrysler Cordoba also serves as a reminder of the power of marketing. The Corinthian leather campaign, regardless of its factual accuracy, embedded itself in the American consciousness, proving that sometimes perception matters as much as product. That campaign helped elevate the car from just another model to a cultural reference point, and it shows how storytelling can be as critical as engineering in building a legend. For Chrysler, the Cordoba's success bought valuable time, a cushion that helped sustain the company as it worked through one of its most financially difficult decades. Without it, Chrysler's road to survival might have looked very different, perhaps even shorter. In retrospect, the Cordoba was not just a car, but a bridge between the muscle car glory days and the downsized, efficiency-focused future of the 1980s. Its legacy lives in how it proved that style and substance, when carefully balanced, could carry a brand through turbulence. And that's why the 1975 Chrysler Cordoba deserves to be remembered not just as a stylish coupe, but as a pivotal chapter in the story of American cars. It may not roar like the legends before it, but it whispers something just as important. Survival through reinvention is sometimes the greatest victory of all. The Harley Sportster's story is one of persistence, adaptability, and cultural weight. For US riders, it represents far more than a motorcycle. It represents decades of personal freedom, garage-built creativity, and a uniquely American approach to self-expression. The Sportster began in 1957 as a response to changing tastes, offering a lighter and more affordable entry point into Harley ownership. Over the decades, it evolved through countless trims, from the 883 to the 1200, each iteration serving as a springboard for riders to transform the bike into whatever they imagined. What makes it stand out is not a single technical breakthrough or record-setting performance, but the way it gave riders permission to build something personal. Ownership in the US has always meant choices. Keep it stock for affordable commuting, dive into the aftermarket for chopper kits or performance builds, or restore older models for nostalgia. Prices on the used market vary widely. Plenty of budget-friendly examples exist for riders looking to get into Harley culture, but well-built customs and rare trims command a premium. Reliability has been a mixed conversation. Some criticize vibrations and maintenance needs, while others celebrate the simplicity that allows at-home wrenching. For American enthusiasts, that trade-off is part of the appeal. You're not just buying a motorcycle, you're buying a project, a statement, a starting point. Today, whether you're shopping new or scouring classifieds, the Sportster offers one of the most affordable tickets into Harley history and the freedom to make it your own. And that's the essence of its legacy. A bike that proved individuality could be engineered into the very bones of a machine, then handed over to riders to finish the story. The final word is simple. Long after its factory years fade, the Harley Sportster will endure as the motorcycle that gave American riders their most personal ride.